Do you like country music? Head down to Morris, Manitoba, July 25th, 26th, and 27th for the Howl at the Moon Festival. This year's festival features a number of high-profile acts, including Lone Star, Emerson Drive, and Dean Brody, as well as a host of local Manitoba artists such as Greg Arcade, Franny Klein, Aaron Starr, Chris Michael, and many, many more. The festival started as an event to bring a huge opportunity to local Manitoba artists by having everyone sharing a huge bill, and it's only grown since its inception. There will be shuttle buses from various locations if you can't drive, there's camping, day passes are available, weekend-long festival passes are available, and a lot more. You can find tickets and more information at howlatthemoonfest.com, and be sure to follow the festival on Facebook or Instagram. If this is your first time listening to Witchpolice Radio, or if you've been a regular listener every week since 2012, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's given any amount of time to this little podcast. This episode of the podcast is our 400th, which is really cool. I had no idea when we started the show years ago that it would ever get this far, and I'm really happy that it's going to keep going for the foreseeable future. I have no intention of stopping now, and I definitely want to make it to 500, so stay tuned for that. We're not doing anything really celebratory for this 400th episode, but when we hit the big 500 milestone, that's going to be something special. This interview is my conversation with Joe Boy Rock, one half of local hip-hop group Machina 2. It's a really interesting conversation, very cool to hear from a young guy who's really only been doing this for a few years, who is very motivated, has his head on straight, has his ideas of what he wants to do with the music, what he wants to do with his career as a musician, and he's kind of got it mapped out, and he has a lot of insightful things to say about the state of rap, about how he got into this, how things have changed in the sound of hip-hop in Winnipeg and beyond over the years, and a lot more. You'll notice pretty much right away on this episode that I was losing my voice when we recorded it. So as it progresses, you hear my voice getting worse and worse and worse until at the end of it, I'm kind of choking out words. And I apologize for that. I was sick, but the interview is still really interesting. The guest had a lot of cool things to say, and usually when I'm interviewing someone that I don't really have too much of a frame of reference for, it can go either way. It can be kind of a bland interview where they're really just filling in the blanks with me about their background, or it can be something that's a little deeper and a little more engaging, and I think this is the latter. So even though my voice is almost gone, it's a good listen. I highly recommend it, and you should definitely check out Machina 2's work. They don't have a ton of music online right now, but what they do have is excellent. It's a new local hip-hop group using elements of old classic golden age hip-hop and making something wholly unique. I hope you enjoy the show. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at the Park Theatre, Winnipeg's premier concert and event venue. If you want to find out all the great shows they have coming up, go to myparktheatre.com.
You're listening to Garbage Hill, Winnipeg's first podcast network.
Welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm in a basement in the West End, and it's nice to be back in this area. I lived here for a long time, just a few streets over actually, and it's always cool to come back. So I think just to start things off, if you want to introduce yourself and maybe a bit of background on your group. I know there's two of you, but you're the only one here today, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, my name's Angelo Lamson, aka Joe Boy Rock, of Good Funk Gang, the dance crew, and also of Machina 2, the rap crew, one half of that. And Cortex, the other half of Machina 2, is not here. Okay. So I hope this haunts you. I hope this haunts you, Cortex. Yeah. You weren't here, bro.
Well, now you can say whatever you want, right?
Yeah, he's my cousin. So
makes it even easier to say whatever you want.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I've been doing this podcast for almost 7 years now, and over that time, I've talked to a pretty wide range of genres of local musicians, everything from country to punk to metal to classical or jazz. And the only one I ever kind of feel like I'm not fully comfortable with is hip hop, and it's not because I don't like hip hop. I mean, I've been back in the late '90s, early 2000s. I went to tons of local rap shows. I think I have a pretty big collection of rap tapes that I still listen to. But I think for me, a lot of the newer stuff has kind of passed me by. Like, I think I'm just stuck in the '90s basically when it comes to rap. And a lot of local artists who approach me to be on the show, I listen to it. I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
A lot of the SoundCloud stuff and everything, it just doesn't work for me. So hearing you guys, I mean, I'm not going to assume I know all of your influences and everything, but I think I can relate a little bit more, being someone who listened to rap, maybe the golden era kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I can relate to that more than I can with a lot of these artists who are coming up, and it just is over my head, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, me and Andrew Cortex, my cousin.
Yeah.
We grew up in a very now looking back out on it, it was a very unique experience in a subculture that was that valued lyrical content, because we were in 2002, 2003, we went to the same junior high, and around that time, and some of our older influences as far as our friends' cousins or friends' brothers or whatever, they're like, yo, you got to get into this, and then they would introduce us into more specifically him, Nas, the classics, right? Nas, Biggie, Tupac, and gangster rap was really heavy at that point with 50 Cent and G Unit and all that.
For sure.
So they also looked up to Tupac and Biggie and
so it's that whole line of kind of going back to from one to the next.
So it's a weird lineage of those people from New York and whatnot, but then it kind of catching a little bit of fire in the north end of Winnipeg where we grew up.
Yeah.
So whenever we go through music, we've been doing it for as a hobby for a while, especially Cortex, because he's been rapping for a while. And I only started rapping recently, but all of that stuff laid down the context of how we want to portray ourselves and some of the some of the values that we have. So just naturally, when you hear our stuff, you'll be like, okay, this is kind of reminiscent of so and so or whatever, 90s or that kind of thing. Even though when we were 12, 13, 14, the hot stuff was kind of I guess you could say the southern rap and Ludacris and and some of the more of the party stuff. But yeah, that's how we thought about it and went about things. Sure.
I think we said a few minutes ago about the lyrical stuff. I think that is maybe what differentiates it for me. A lot of the newer rap that I hear, and obviously it's not everybody, but a lot of the popular stuff, it doesn't have that lyricism that was kind of the hallmark of rap when I was really heavily into it, right? I mean, it seems like now, I don't want to assume, but it used to be that lyrics were entirely what it was about. That was the goal, is to just be the best, deepest, best references, lyrics. And now it's just punchlines and kind of repeated choruses and stuff. And I think that maybe that's what I heard in your stuff. It was this is harkening back to the era where lyrics are at the forefront and are important.
Yeah, and if you grew up in that kind of frame of mind, then you would understand that more than what you than the newer stuff that's coming around now. If you understood more of the crowd now and their scene and how their background, then it would make more sense to you. And
totally,
And so nowadays I try not to judge certain scenes because I'm not from that scene.
Absolutely,
and then to be yo, that's whack, or this is it's all a matter of perspective.
100%. And it's funny because that's whack. That was my first thought when I heard some of that stuff, right? And I kind of, over a while, I tried to listen to it, tried to get into it, and it just never worked. And it was what am I missing? And it just kind of occurred to me that it's not for me. I'm a dad in my late 30s. I'm not the target audience for that music. If they were appealing to me, they're doing it wrong. Right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's kind of so now I'm okay with it because it's I'm not supposed to get it. But I do appreciate that there's a lot of hip-hop groups in Winnipeg, 3 Beat's a great example, who are doing stuff that has enough elements to appeal to an older crowd who grew up in the 90s and everything, but are still trying new things and kind of going in different directions and different influences with it.
Yeah, they're definitely a good blend, and those 3 guys together are just unique. I don't know, it just seems you took this guy from this part, this guy from that part, and okay, let's make a super group and just put them all together. Even though Carvello always says it came together organically. I'm That's a pretty big coincidence.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But like they do share like that value of like, okay, sick flows, like really dope flows, and then content, and their influences are like, like they really take it seriously. I think as far as the craft of it, even though when they perform, it's a
super
huge
fun, right?
It's a huge party,
Yeah. Well, and I think they have just the way their voices are. They fill like different ranges, right? There's like the higher voice, lower voice, and then the middle, and they all kind of. It just works musically. It works well together, which is really cool.
Yeah, and they started out performing the songs before they even recorded them.
Yeah.
So then they had this whole stage. I guess I don't know what it's called. It was a party vibe that they had for sure. That brought everything together, and then they like recorded stuff.
Yeah.
So, which is a interesting dynamic when it comes.
It's almost
to
backwards from how a lot of people do it now. Right? A lot of people be in the basement for months or years working on the stuff, and then finally putting it out and then doing shows. But those guys were. Yeah, they were live first, right? And then,
yeah. So that was super important. And the landscape now is that live shows have to be memorable, or
for sure, yeah.
you have to get people engaged and invested in the live shows to come to another live show, and then hopefully you are able to sell some merch. Just to like sustain yourself. So
for sure, yeah.
So they've done a good job of that, and I always talk about them and hold them to such high regard because they're major influences on me and still are. And I've known Egg for quite a while. I know it's weird to be like, hey, yeah, I know him from like back in the day and stuff, but it's true. So,
but it's Winnipeg, right? And everybody somehow knows there's like only a few degrees of separation between everyone in the city, anyway, right? So it's not that unusual, I don't think.
And he's a b-boy, so and I was and still am in the dance world, so street dance world. So yeah, we crossed paths like many occasions, but when I started seeing him rap, I'm like, oh snap, maybe I should start to try to do that.
Yeah.
And then Straight Outta Compton came out, and I was like,
I
was like, easy, you did that? Okay. So I started learning that, and then I was mentored and still am getting mentored by Cortex, my cousin, who's been rapping for a long time, and then I've dived deep into the classics. To be honest, I wasn't even like consciously diving deep into any of that kind of like golden era, boom bap stuff until like three years ago. Then that's why I was like, I could buy CDs now. I bought like a Wu-Tang album, Wu-Tang album, and then I bought like some Rakim, and then Big L, and then Gangstar, and all of these I took like, it was like an a la carte type thing. So I took like this influence and that, and like maybe like Biggie and like Big Pun, and I tried to like mix them into something that I could do, and like what my voice naturally like kind of wanted to go, and then like we did the whole Machina 2 type thing, and then now we're here.
That's cool.
A day in the life of a fool.
Hey yo, try to test it, skill. I'm setting chills cause my level's a mill. Even your homie saying this dude is for real. Yo, you best to resign cause your body of work's a waste of time. Better sign on the dotted line, cause then I hit you with the triple threat. My lyrical flex, Cortex being too complex. Now what's next? These simple individuals be turning so invisible. And once I'm hitting criticals, they praying for a miracle. Cause you's a fool, yo, you try to find a means to escape. You realize your mistake, a rap great, put it out in display. No debate, fixated on success. Do whatever it takes, might as well.
You wanna step to a real MC, a true player from the north, reppin' DEG. They cavitate your face with it to Z. They could be a rule in the back of the sword. You wanna step to a real MC, a true player from the north, reppin' DEG. They cavitate your face with it to Z. They could be a rule in the back of the sword.
Annihilate. Try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. You try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. Yo, I ain't gon' stop. Try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. You try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. Stop.
It's your boy Rock till I drop. Feel the boom bang pop. Every time I flow, you know this shit's unlocked. Funk Lord with the liquid swords. You wanna step, I detect you get wrecked like a world war. Dropping bombs on the song of atomic weight. Reduce all your troops to a powder state. In fact, Yo, my team is stacked. I'll leave you jack face down and paralyzed in the alley. Cats don't seem to get the message. They wanna test it, commit the crime, motherfucker get arrested behind bars. Cause with that flow, you'll never go far. Shit's weak, don't make a peep. You know I lay down the law.
A day in the life of a fool.
Bring it back for your bitches now. Bring it back for your bitches now.
You wanna step to a real MC, a true player from the north, reppin' PEG. They got to feed your face with it to sad day to be a fool in the back of the store.
Get you's a fool.
You wanna step to a real MC, a true player from the north, reppin' PEG. They got to feed your face with it to sad day to be a fool in the back of the store.
Try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. You try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop.
Yo, I ain't gon' stop.
Try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. You try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. Stop. Try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. You try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop.
Yo, I ain't gon' stop.
Try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. You try to rock, yo, I ain't gon' stop. Stop. You's a fool.
No, again, so I was part of the dance scene. I do.
Right, so that's like a whole other element of it. Yeah.
I do a style of called popping and another style called locking.
Yeah.
2 separate styles. And 3P did a performance like back in like 2014, 2015. It was like Peace of Mind.
Okay.
That's the one I remember. They said that like they did a earlier one at B-Boy Jam called Shook Ones. But I don't remember that one, to be honest. So, like, they were kind of, like, around. And I was like, oh, that's kind of nice. Like, I didn't really pay too much attention to it. And then, again, around, like, 2016, maybe, like, 2015, I saw, like, a show at Triple Tiger. Okay. And I was like, whoa, what the, like, because I saw the party vibe of it. The kind of crowd that was coming out and, like, the kind of engagement that they had with their audience. And I was like, what? I didn't know this existed. I thought this was all like dead because, again, when I was in high school, like 2016 to 2015 to like 2018, the groups that were out or were popping were like Winnipeg's Most, Ricotta, like all
Ricotta had been around for a while.
Right? Yeah, like they were around, and Ricotta actually coached me in basketball league when I was a kid, which is like it's another story. But like there wasn't. That was like, to me, that was like for like the older people, and like that's when you turn 18, you go to like Blush Ultra Club, you watch them or whatever. But then for like my age group, I feel like for me anyways, there wasn't anything like that beforehand, and maybe I just wasn't like up to or like keen on it.
You didn't know. You didn't know it was happening in some other area you didn't know about, or something. Yeah.
And then there are certain bubbles I think that like eventually are like right now are kind of like coming together, and it's becoming more of a cohesive whole. Yeah. That was the first time that I was like, whoa, this is like something real. Like you could feel the energy, and I was like, damn, I want to be a part of this. So yeah. Cool.
And then you guys played the Northern Touch Festival a few times now, right?
Yeah, we were there at the beginning actually when Shay put it together with the whole staff. That was in 2017, and then we just finished doing a performance there at the Cube this year, just coming off the heels of that. Yeah. And that was a really cool experience. We got to meet. It was actually a lot of networking and like connecting.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah, like, do you feel like you're more part of a community now than you were before you started doing those shows?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing with that is just being open and trying to understand where everybody else is coming from. Yeah. I know with like the initial response from rappers to other rappers might be like, oh crap, I gotta outdo this guy. Like almost it's like a sport, right? Which in some sense it is, but also it's like, to me it's more of like an art than a sport. Yeah. So you gotta treat it like an art form, and it's like, why did you start doing this in the first place? You did it because you enjoy doing it, because it's fun, and like, you know, the whole like the people and like socializing and everything like that. Sure, yeah. So that was a huge thing that got me like opening up to the possibilities of like, okay, maybe we could do like, how can I help this person? How can I help that person? How can, like, you know, I could lift this community up a little bit, or just try to anyways, and move forward rather than just staying in your own little bubble or staying in the basement and never like moving. So
Well, it's cool to see that too, because like I come from the 90s, like late 90s punk rock scene in Winnipeg, right? That's kind of my origins, I guess, in the local music scene. And that was all about that. Like every band was helping each other out, trying to get each other shows. Like I'm still friends with people, a lot of people from back when I played in bands when I was 15 or whatever, right? And so it's very cool, but it's nice to see, it seems like especially now with social media and everything, the possibility to do that and do something even bigger is there. And it's always nice to see people actually jumping on that and doing it, like Shay's doing with those festivals.
And I think part of it too is like accepting it as a whole thing, rather than just being like, oh, super positive all the time. Okay, there's negative stuff that happens, of course. But you gotta like take it within like you gotta take it with a grain of salt and like in a context of, okay, this is what's happening. How can I flip the script on this thing? And eventually, like my goal is like my legacy, which involves like how I treat people and everything like that. So when I die, like I'm fast forwarding this all the way to my death, but like when I die, hopefully people can say, oh yeah, he tried to help like as much as he can with the art form and stuff that he loves. So. Yeah,
that's cool. I mean, that's what I think that's what most people would like to have as a memory.
Yeah,
for sure. You were talking before, about Three-Peat and not to dwell on Three-Peat too much because I have had them on a few times already, so people listen to that if they don't hear about that. But the live show element and stuff, and then so when you guys are doing shows like at the Cube, I guess what do you bring to the stage in an effort to kind of make yourself stand out? Because just looking at the lineup for that show, it's a ridiculous amount of artists, right? So how do you kind of make yourselves heard above the heads of the others and get attention from people who are maybe not necessarily going there to see you, but they're going to see someone else and they happen to be there when you're performing, right? Like,
I think the biggest thing with that is just caring, just straight up caring about, like, a lot of the people that showed up for our performance that day were other artists and some out-of-town artists. And we were just like, we were talking to them and I was just sharing like some of the thoughts that I had about the music scene and like how we can grow and all that kind of stuff. And they just kind of like, for lack of better terms, bought into that idea, that vision. Like it's a shared vision, it's a shared goal. Like we want to grow. This guy's doing the same thing as me, like similar thing. Like I could see the parallels, right? Yeah. And then like us analyzing ourselves as artists, like really like looking at the like, okay, what did we do well? What did we suck at?
Right.
Like also what was like the feeling of it? Was a natural groove of it? How can we relate that in like how we rap and how we perform? And we broke it down very like logically, especially me, with like, okay, what's your body language like? How are you saying it? Like, what's your tonality? And then looking at of course the message and like the content is important.
Of course, yeah.
But all these other things come into play when it comes to a performance, right? Yeah. So I had to look at that as far as like me being a beginner at everything. I still consider myself a beginner, even though people call me like an OG or whatever. But I'm like, yeah, I'm still a beginner at this. So like, how can I constantly improve? And you'll see like I think you'll see it from 2017 at Northern Touch Music Festival performance, like our live performance, up until now, we've like upped it as much as we possibly can, and like tried to like add something a little bit new and everything. Okay. Yeah.
Didn't know, now everybody knows that I'm leading resistance against those insistent. They're the kickers, bullshit and persistent. Bring the pain so hardcore, they will want more. Make it rain, a downpour, kick in the front door. Still not sure, claiming ill, I got the cure. With these, I fix the disease, plagues that leave deceased MCs on the floor. I'll make a killing, thrilling as a villain. Warfare seems appealing, and it don't stop until you learn or you drop. Cause a fool's fate is in your hands. What you got? Saying nothing on the track, yet they're making stacks. While real rappers break their backs, so imagine that. So here's the mission, maintain the vision, break the system and overcome. Cause it's a prison. Hear me out, yo, it's all in together now. Unite and fight, birds of a feather now. Realize this is ride or die. Life or death, rep your set, better choose your side. Hear me out, yo, it's all in together now. Unite and fight, birds of a feather now. Realize this is ride or die. Life or death, rep your set, better choose your side. Check, all in together now.
Cause these flames are spitting laid on wax. You melted corpses at your doorsteps, what the fuck is that? It's a sign that keeps the weak from coming back. They sitting behind screens and typing in all caps. Now I'm wondering, what the fuck is that? Don't try to hit me with that, yo man, that dude can really rap. Yo, I slice that dude in two, I don't mean to be rude. I'm in the prime in this game while haters be turning blue. Now tell me man, what you talking about? Just cause you got a bank account, that doesn't mean shit. You have no skill, you be hitting droughts. Don't try to test or shut you down when you hit my route. I'm sick of being judged by phony chilling on the couch. So now I'm thinking how to improve the competition when we wipe out all these clowns from every other division. So now see my vision. These people thinking that they blind to sin. It doesn't matter what happens, that M2 will always win. We'll always win. We'll always win. Get it together now. Get it together now. Marking the two.
What's sort of the balance between recorded music versus live music for you in terms of what you place the importance on? I mean, I imagine both have a degree of importance, but in terms of getting what you're doing out there, how much do you think that the live show is more important, or do you think it's more on the energy you put into the recording, or is it split evenly?
Right now, this present moment, I think the live performance trumps the recording, because you could really feel certain things when you see it live. It's real, it's tangible. You could get into people's faces and be like, yo, I'm here, pretty much. And then the recording, to me, the way I think about it now is you have to capture that live performance in, you just got to capture it in a bottle, and that's the recording, right?
The same energy that you would have on stage.
Yeah. But the recording process is important to us for sure, because we have to run it a bunch of times. Okay, we do the rough demo, we call it a rough demo, and we just record it ourselves and be like, okay, we got to get this down, and we analyze that. So it's a lot of refining along the way, and then we try to get this is going to be the one that the final version that's going to be everybody's going to hear, and hopefully they feel a little bit of something. But of course, the live performance, we think that people feel that as more, as long as we're there in the present moment.
Cool. As far as recordings, the stuff you have online right now, that's older recordings, right? Over the past few years, or?
Our stuff is kind of
because you have on Bandcamp, you got the one album, I guess, which I think it said it was recordings from the past 3 years or so. So the Genesis mixtape, if you want to call it that, we called it a mixtape. It was just a compilation of stuff we worked on from 2011 to 2015 or something. Okay, so it goes pretty far back,
Yeah, and that was more of actually Cortex rapping and me singing and stuff like that. I didn't really rap on any of those. And then also Big M was on that, who collaborated with us way back then. And then we released an EP each in 2017, I want to say.
Okay.
And mine was an R&B type thing, because I wanted to go there. And then he did his rap EP, and that's on SoundCloud. And then we released a few singles kind of in a row in 2018, and then we have we compiled some of that stuff into a playlist on Spotify, or I guess you could call it an EP or an album or whatever on Spotify.
How do you feel? I mean, it's an interesting question, because the people I interview on the show, they range anywhere in age from 18 to 70, right? Depending on who they are, what kind of music they play. And I'm always curious about how people consume music. Because for me, I mean, I know that the main way people listen to music now is things like Spotify and SoundCloud to a certain extent and things like that too. But I'm one of those people who's still stuck in physical media. Like I still listen to CDs, tapes, and records. And I understand that that's kind of dwindling a little bit in terms of like popularities. I mean, records are kind of, they seem to be on the rise and everything, but like, are you exclusively a digital listener or what's
No, I
know you mentioned CDs before.
Yeah, for sure. Like I just recently bought a bunch of CDs from Into the Music because as a kid, and this is, I think a lot of it is personality too, and like what you kind of gravitate to, and what you hold dear. But at Into the Music, I bought like Ray Charles CD, James Brown, and you could tell like my influences are like a lot of funk and soul. Zap, so Roger Troutman.
Yeah, for sure.
And
some talkbox stuff going on there with it.
Yeah, man, and it was just like, it's like, I'm like, I love and hate going here because I love it because I see stuff that I want, but I hate it because I always come out spending like $50, like, you know.
I do the same thing for sure.
I always come out with something, so no, like as a kid I always wanted CDs and I couldn't afford them because like growing.
They were expensive. Until recently, they were pretty expensive too. Like. Yeah,
and my parents would never buy them for me, and like so I was just like, okay, now I can afford this. So I went and bought a bunch of CDs, and that's how I started with the rap too, right? Like in 2016, when like HMV was closing and stuff, or like was about to close. I
did all the sales, they're clearing everything out, right?
I bought some stuff, and I'm like, oh snap, like, and the value it had for me was like huge because I'm like, how do I get into this field? How do I sound like this? How do I sound like that? Somebody else, it might just be like, oh, I can just get on Spotify, but But I use both. I use Spotify too, and I like some of the functionalities of that.
Yeah.
But
I guess the playlist function is pretty cool, right? We can curate your own sort of your playlist, basically. Yeah.
The only thing, that's cool. The thing with Spotify too sometimes though is just like, you know what? Like, I have to like for my car, I have to like plug in my phone and like put it like connected to with like the aux cord or whatever.
That's why I just listen to my car.
And I'm just like. Then I gotta unplug it when I come out. So it's it's a tiny little hassle. It's not even a huge thing, but it's a tiny enough, or like it's significant enough for me to be like, I'll just pop in a CD and like I'll just let it play.
The exact same thing here. I do the same. Yeah.
Nice.
I don't even have Spotify actually. I just strictly stick with the physical stuff because I think it's because I already have all of it, so I don't want to go I know I'm not buying it on Spotify, but I feel like if I have something on CD, I'll just listen to it on CD. Instead of going and finding it on some other platform, you know what I mean? Yeah,
and then you still have it. You have the thing. Like
exactly, yeah.
For the Spotify stuff, where you got like I got downloaded, or like, and if I don't, and it's taking up space, I've got to undownload it.
And it's kind of just floating there in some weird cloud somewhere that you can't physically see it.
Your phone dies, and like, oh no, I can't play the music anymore.
Okay, so on that topic, how do you feel about releasing your own music? Then, are you planning on doing any physical releases of your own stuff? Like, do you want to have CDs of your own music, or does it make more sense for you? In the current climate, I guess, to just go the digital Spotify, etc. route?
It depends on like who we're reaching. Like the one thing that I want to do is reach underserved markets and towns. Yeah. And for them, like CDs are a huge thing. And this is what I hear, and it makes sense to me. So I don't know like firsthand, but I just hear about this. But then for like the rest of the people who like want like music for free or whatever, I think the way that I want to do it is just provide the music for free and do the Chance the Rapper route with it being sort of like a branding thing, and be like, oh, this is what we're about, this is what we believe in, this is our vision. Are you with it? Great. If not, okay, that's great too. Yeah. And then hopefully you come out to a show, and then it's a long-term play. So over the long term, hopefully you buy some merchandise and it means something to you, like something valuable, and then if you want to buy like physical copy or whatever, we'll try to make it as special as we can for you, and like sign it or do whatever to make it unique and like not just like a manufactured cold thing.
Sure, I like that idea. I think that's maybe how you have to do it now too, especially because of the way things have shifted in the music business and the way people consume music too. Yeah, if you're not making it a unique thing for that person, they're maybe not going to listen to it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you some questions actually, because I wanted to learn more about your background. You said you like came from the punk rock 90s scene. How did you start, and like how did that like come about for you?
Well, I guess like first band I played in, it was in 1995. I was grade 7, and that was like a grunge band because it was 95. it was awful, it was brutal. But I think that, like, I don't know, all my friends at the time were into punk rock, going into the late 90s and stuff, and there was so many shows like the Albert and stuff, all these venues in Winnipeg had lots of all ages shows. And I think that kind of, I've sort of seen that all ages community doesn't seem to exist the same way it did. It seems like every bar would have like a Sunday afternoon or whatever, Sunday night, there'd be an all ages show, and people could, like, 15-year-olds could go. And so you're at a bar, you're seeing a real show, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
Right? And there was a whole kind of system of those community center shows and bar shows. They're all ages, and it was like a big community of people. And I think that from what I've seen, I don't go to shows as much as I used to. I've got kids now and stuff, but it seems more fractured and more kind of everyone's in their separate little pockets now. And I would love to see it go back to the way it was then, in terms of just, you get a basement, you get 300 kids in it, and there's like, 5 punk bands, there's a ska band opening, there's a folk singer, there's a rapper. It's just like this big group of people, and they're all sort of going to, I don't know, it was a community. I feel like, I'm sure it exists now too. It's just I'm out of it because I'm older.
Yeah, like, I mean, some of it seems fragmented, and some of it seems like united. But from what I see from the fragments is that, and this may just be like a small part of it, but people growing up nowadays, or like the society nowadays, like, they don't know how to deal with people disagreeing with stuff. So if I run into you and you're like, hey, I like it this way, or like, and then the other person's like, I like it this way, and then they're like, okay, so, and it just, I don't know. I think that, I don't even know where exactly I'm going with this, but it's just like, it seems like they, like, maybe back then people could come together more cohesively and just be like, okay, we don't disagree. We don't agree on this stuff, but we're just like still here. We still like, we're still in the same spot. And then like now it's more of like it's easier for people to stay in their bubbles.
It totally is, yeah. Even with listening to music, right? Because people, they listen to the radio, but in terms of music listening, you can go on Spotify and if you only listen to funk, you can only listen to funk forever and never even be exposed to anything else, because you can program everything so specifically for you. Whereas before, you listen to whatever's on the radio, and then you go and buy a CD because there was no internet, right? So I think it's just a very different way of doing things. And I think the thing I like about the punk rock scene that I kind of would love to see more of is the do-it-yourself nature of it. Like even on here, I've interviewed bands that seem to be very, very focused on. Well, it's not a bad thing, but going this publicity route and getting a professional website and professional t-shirts made and like a big banner and all this stuff before they've ever really written any songs. Like, they have like one song and then suddenly they have this website that makes it look like they're some touring fancy band. Uh-huh. They put all this effort into that stuff, which is great because it definitely helps to get the word out. But it seems like there's often a focus on, I'm going to be famous, this is how I'm going to get famous, rather than let's start a community and make art together. If that makes sense. Right,
and it's just two different approaches in that case, right? Sure. Like the whole trolling nature of everything, and like attention is like the new currency, turned into currency afterwards. It just depends on like how you want to go about doing it, right? Like if you're okay with the consequences of like this trolling and saying, oh, fuck this guy or fuck that guy or whatever, and then deal with that, okay, go ahead and do that. But starting with the art, like for me, it's always been about the art first, and then business after. Yeah. So let's do the music, business after, and then like go from there. Because again, it goes back to like your why and what your vision is. Like, why do you do it? Yeah. Do you want to just be famous and like earn a few bucks in the short term or whatever, or do you want to like have like longevity and like you're in this for like a marathon, right?
Yeah. Do you want it to mean something? And that'd be more important than the end goal. And the end goal comes after you've done the meaningful work, right?
That's my philosophy. Yeah, anyways, I'm not saying anybody doing it the other way is wrong.
For sure, there's no wrong way. Yeah. And like to go back to what I said too, it's not like there wasn't infighting and all that shit with the punk scene either. That obviously existed, but I think because there was no internet and the whole like popularity being a currency wasn't really a thing. It was more. I think it was easier to sort of be like, here's the community. Let's all support each other. Let's do shows together regardless of what we sound like, and kind of, I thought that more. I'm sure it still exists now. I'm just not in it anymore, I think is what it is.
Right.
Hey, yo, why? Try to stay up in my own lane. In this game, you can see me always keeping up. If you see me around, then you can show some love. But if you plot and send you flying with that uppercut, shorty wanna chill, I'ma show you what's real. You catch your feels, I'ma show you what the deal is. This is that groovy tune, yo, I'm out on the moon. I'll be hitting the spots, I'll see you soon. I'm crazy like I got the screws loose, and I don't ever plan to lose against some who's. You can't even walk a mile in my shoes. I'm the truth, pitch your brain, causing pain in this game, ready to rumble like the Subarus. I got my thoughts and my pen ready, always on the move, keeping this slow and steady. And if you stay in the same place, you lose a chain of mind, you'll be wasting your time. Yo, you always on the move. On the move. Yeah, I know I'm on the move. On the move. As we move to the groove, getting loose, I'ma show you what it do.
If you're making moves, then say it loud. MC to me means move the crowd. If you're making moves, then say it loud. MC to me means move the crowd. I'm on the move, dude. I don't mean to be rude, just excuse the way I cruise straight down the avenue. Cause the tick-tock of this clock makes me flip-flop from each task to the next. Where's my wristwatch? Yo, I'm ready to go, ready to set it off, ready to steady the flow, ready to blow. Let me get it all straight out the gate, so I rate, you feel it vibrate. Trust that I must bust a champion mind. Think to tell me wait in line, I decline, that's a waste of time. Each second spent cost me more than a pretty dime. I'm getting it done, got a boogie. Up on the scene like a machine, you mistook me for a shook one, but I'm too good, son. Funking up the groove like a rerun. It's just begun, bar none. I refuse to lose. I make it happen while those others just make an excuse.
Back, bring it back. Yo, you always on the move. On the move. Yeah, I know I'm on the move. On the move. As we move to the groove, getting loose, I'ma show you what it do.
If you're making moves, then say it loud. MC to me means move the crowd. If you're making moves, then say it loud. MC to me means move the crowd. If you're making moves, then say it loud. MC to me means move the crowd. If you're making moves, then say it loud. MC to me means move the crowd.
What do you think about the punk rock / rap stuff that's happening now? I don't know if you're up on all this stuff, but some of it's like really intriguing because again, growing up in the early 2000s, I was like a big fan of like Sum 41, Blink 182, Billy Talent, so like all these like kind of like punk pop bands. Have you like what's your take on stuff in the local scene with like the punk like branching out off into like some other stuff?
I think hip hop and punk rock are the same thing, just coming from different directions. But it does. I mean, like originally, right? It's often politically motivated. Like you're trying to be oppressed, like kids who are dealing with shit that they need to get it out somehow, and the anger and frustration, and I think they both come from the same kind of source. It's just different ways of doing it. So it kind of makes sense to me that those two genres would collide and new things would come out of it. I don't know, I'm all for people taking things new directions, which sounds weird because earlier I was shitting on the SoundCloud rap and I don't get it and stuff. But it doesn't mean I don't like the fact that it's happening, right? I like that people are taking, some of those kids are into like emo stuff and they've filtered that through hip hop and made their own thing. Yeah. And even though it doesn't appeal to me, I think I appreciate the fact that they're doing it because I'm not in the market for it. So the kids who are coming up now, maybe that's perfect. It hits all the influences that they're coming from, right? I don't know if that answers your question, but
yeah, again, that's like a thing that's kind of new for me to like witness. Yeah. And just seeing like Drink Bleach or
I had that guy on the show before.
Post-war or whoever it is. Like shout out to Stick City Cult. Like them doing stuff and even Dag like doing stuff, and I'm like, yo man, you should just do like this punk thing with the rap and everything because it sounds like that's your route right there.
Well, it's obviously that influence is obviously there, right? You can hear it in what they're doing that they have that punk background. Yeah,
and it's super cool. I'm like, yo, be you. Just like you don't have to like follow the blueprint in quotations of, you know, the successful rapper,
Yeah,
especially the commercial rapper, because there's so many different avenues and niches that I think you can do. And maybe this is like an optimistic or naive view of things, but that's just like, I'm like, yo, there's so many people in the world, and also your music is available to a lot more people than it was like back like
even 10 years
ago.
Yeah.
So like, just do you, and like that will resonate naturally with people who like that stuff, and then you'll find them, and then you just got to keep going, you know.
And I think that's something across all genres of music. Like, I mean, I think people, music listeners in general, they want authenticity, and I think that's why I think the people who are successful, whatever kind of stuff they're doing, even if it's pop music, if they're authentic and it seems real and it seems like what they're putting forward is genuine, it's gonna last. It might not be a big hit, a big throwaway one-hit wonder thing, but it's gonna have that longevity because people recognize the authenticity. And hip hop is a genre where, and punk too, where being real is like a premium, right? Like people are looking for that. That's what they want to hear. And for me, even stuff that I don't get and sonically maybe doesn't appeal to me, if I can tell that it's authentic and the person this is who they are and this is their artistic interpretation of what they're going through and how they feel and everything, I respect it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things that's going to this is like the easiest thing to set you apart from anybody else when you're doing what you do, is that you have like knowledge of yourself and like your history and like your unique upbringing. Yeah. Because that, like, you could draw from that so many things, and just the way that you live can help you like break out of the box. So
for sure, yeah, it's cool. I'm glad to hear that. I always like to hear other people having the same philosophy on that, because I totally agree with you. It's cool. So I guess what's just a shift gears here.
All good.
What is kind of what next for you guys? Like, do you, as far as recording or playing shows or anything, do you have anything big sort of planned for the near future?
Well, right now we're like, the dynamic that we have between each other is the two of us. So
yeah.
He works more on the technical side and like rough mixes and mastering and like dealing with all that technical sound stuff. And then I work on like, so I guess sort of the business marketing side of things and try to put that forward. So we kind of like work together in that kind of sense to bring you like what we have. I'm working on building a team. So if anybody's listening to this, you know, and has the guts to be like, hey, I want to do this or I want to do that. We have a vision for ourselves as far as like doing this as a full-time thing or like sustainable thing. So we're looking for people to be part of the team, whether it be like people who will book shows for us or grant writing or whatever. Like, there's going to be a lot of opportunities, especially with us finally realizing, we're creatives and like we work better in like a creative mode. But we have a bunch of shows coming up. One is on August 9th. It's actually at a social. So it's there's gonna be food there. There's gonna be a screening of from Kickflip. I forget what they're called. Anthony Javier is having a screening at his social, and they're also screening our music video Move.
Cool.
You might
I saw that one on YouTube. Yeah.
And then we're gonna be performing there. So that's a lot of $10 a ticket. You get to get all this stuff. Yeah. We have like a bunch of shows coming. I can't remember exactly all of the shows, but keep on the lookout. I mean, if you tune into hip hop in Winnipeg, then you'll find us because we'll be looking for you.
Yeah. And I assume you guys are trying to get as many shows as you can too to get the word out and everything, right?
Yeah, and just like, again, with the consistency of it, you gotta keep people's attention and like keep reminding them, because people just forget. And it's nothing like that's wrong with you. It's just like, oh yeah, I forgot that they were doing that.
Well, because there's so much now too, right? And you're getting so many notifications about this thing's happening. And trying to kind of filter through all that to find the show you want to see is often hard.
Yeah, and like we're still working on the craft. Like we always work on the craft and refine, and then push forward as far as like, okay, now we got to figure out promoting and marketing and like accounting and legalities of stuff and lawyers and everything, just to like protect ourselves. And because especially when you have a vision as big as mine, like I want to be like Jay-Z pretty much.
Okay.
Like I want to
That's a very lofty goal. Yeah, for sure.
It's a very lofty goal, but I think I hear people's like problems with like, okay, if you're gonna be a musician, you can't make any money, or if you want to do this, you can. And I don't think that's necessarily true. Maybe it's true for them, but I just want to like. This is gonna sound so cocky, and this is gonna sound weird, but like I want to be so successful and like make so much money that, and like being as average as I am. I want it to be like no excuse for anybody coming up. I want them to be what the hell? Like, how did Angelo do that? Like, okay, now that if he did that, then look, imagine what I could do.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and that's like again, this is why I'm spewing out all of this information and like trying to like get all this out, because I want people to know like, I'm super average. I'm like I'm super average. I just have like a vision that's like maybe different than and like ambitious enough to be like, what? And so like when people listen to it, I want people to be like, okay, I want to do this. I really want to do this. This is what my heart's telling me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do this, and like I'm gonna try to like feed this vision of everything and this drive forward. And I want to be there in their corner if they like, if they're gonna ask me questions directly, or even just through here, if they just hear this and like, oh yeah, he's in my corner. He believes what stuff I believe in. So I'm gonna keep going. So cool. I want people to know that, and I'm glad that you're interviewing people for this, because you're gonna catch all these like little nuggets here and there. And this is the reason why I listen to podcasts too, is because that's giving me the information, like it's feeding me so I can like move forward and move past all the negative stuff that happens in life. So
well, it's interesting because what we were talking about before about some artists who are only in it to become famous and things like that. I almost feel like that there's a lot of podcasts out now, which is fantastic, but I feel like there's a lot of podcasts too who they only want to get the high profile guests. And for me, I mean, I'm doing 2 of these a week. I've been doing it for years. I'd rather talk to someone like you, or on the other hand, talk to some guy who's been doing this for 35 years and never made it big. Because sometimes, someone up and coming or someone who just has all that experience, they have much more interesting things to say than someone who's just, they're a celebrity and they're basically, this is the 5th interview they've done that hour, you know what I mean? And like they're just kind of repeating the same lines over and over again because they don't really care. But I think that people who are kind of on the rise and are doing it themselves and independent, they often have, like some of the stuff you've been saying, a lot more interesting ideas because they're motivated and hungry to make it happen, right? So
exactly.
I'd always rather talk to someone who has 2 fans than someone who has 200,000, because the guy with 2 fans is going to be a lot hungrier for it and he's got a lot more to say, I think.
And he's always and they're figuring out like why is it not happening, or why am I here, right?
Yeah.
And some of those people who've made it maybe have like they've kind of like plateaued in the sense of like, okay, I'm already here, I already made it, so why do I have to try?
Yeah.
So I think again, caring about like this goes back to like caring about yourself and like caring about the people who listen to music and like trying to help in that regard. So like if I care about myself, I'm gonna like most likely gonna care about you. I'm gonna have empathy for you, and I'm gonna like try to push forward where like it's elevation for the greater good. Elevation for the greater good.
No,
so
I know it's his thing, but it does make sense. Yeah.
Exactly. So and then you see like people who don't care about themselves or care about themselves less. They're the ones that hurt like people the most. So like it's like a web, or it's like a branch. Everything's like interconnected.
Yeah.
And you get into super like philosophy stuff, but like that's what I believe in. And for me, like understanding that and all the hardships I had to go through just to even get to this point, it's made me connect the dots going backwards. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's why this didn't work like this. This is why it didn't work like that. And this is why I'm here. And this is also, if I extrapolate some of this stuff, then I could be like, oh, this is where I'm gonna be, right? Or I'm gonna be at least close to that, because that's what I'm like, like aiming for.
For sure, yeah.
So yeah, again, shout out to you, man, for doing this and doing this for like 7 years. That's like consistent, like hard work.
It's a lot of work, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no, it's fun though. I mean, I really started doing this as a way to stay involved in the music scene, because when I had kids, my time to play in bands was, I didn't have any free time. So it was like, this kept me involved. And so it's good because I've actually I've discovered so much cool local music that, maybe if I had just been going to shows every once in a while, going to see the bands I already knew, I might never heard of half the artists that I've talked to on the show. That some of them are not among my favorite artists. Like locally, there's so many cool bands I've had on here, and singers, rappers, like instrumentalists, whatever. And Winnipeg is so rich with talent and creativity that it's cool. I've definitely learned a lot from doing this show that I would just never have encountered. So
yeah, man, big up on highlighting everything.
Yeah,
man.
Thanks. So just to wrap it up here, if people are hearing about you for the first time on the podcast, what's the best way for them to check out your music or find out more about you?
Check out Machina 2 on SoundCloud, Spotify. You could even go to Bandcamp still. It's a little bit dated. But a lot of our stuff is on SoundCloud because it has less restrictions as far as stuff you can put out there. It's like easy. There's like barely any barrier to entry. Machina and then 2 I's as
Roman
in
numeral 2,
Roman numeral 2. It's a tricky name. Like a lot of people get it wrong. But are you aware that that's a Smashing Pumpkins album too? Yeah, I looked it up because like what I do is like when I think about the name, like I type it into Google and I'm like, what are the odds of like Smashing Pumpkins?
Super weird, yeah.
But I might use that too. Like I might flip that too and be like, yo, I have a music video with us Smashing Pumpkins or something.
Yeah.
Or like I have to go back and listen to that whole album again and just maybe find some connection. Yeah. So I'm thinking about these things just to get like more engagement as far as stuff that we're already connected to just by coincidence.
Yeah.
And even like where we're from. Like I want to do this thing. I'm putting this out in the universe is meet Burton Cummings and Randy Bachman because like they grew up around the same like area that I did, but like way back in like the
way before
before me.
So you're North End background?
Yeah, North End. So I'm just like, yo, I want to like remix this song and like get them on, and then like I just want to meet them. Like that's a big goal before hopefully they don't pass away anytime soon. But like I want to meet them before they.
Well, Burton's living in Moose Jaw, so you have to go down to Saskatchewan to meet the guy.
Do you have the connect?
No, I just read something about he was in a fight with his neighbors about the volume of the music they were listening to, which is kind of funny.
Oh, yeah, it's all trap. But yeah, Machina 2, Machina, and then Roman numeral 2. I go by Joe Boy Rock. You can find me on Instagram. Super findable. Yeah. And if you actually really want to reach me, you can. So it's not... Again, we live in this age of like information, so you can find
it anywhere. Yeah, for sure. Okay, awesome. Well, if you want to hear more episodes of this show, you can go to witchpolice.com. This is actually the 400th episode of the show, which is kind of cool. I decided I'm not going to do any kind of big deal until I get to 500. So this is like, it's not really a milestone. It kind of is, which is cool. But
are you the Joe Rogan of like Winnipeg?
I don't know. Yeah, he's got way more than I do though. And his show's like 4 hours long each episode, so he's got to be there. But yeah, no, it's like I've done a lot of these, and so if you want to listen to any of the previous 399 episodes. They're all there at witchpolice.com. You can also tune in on Sundays at midnight on 101.5 UMFM. And those are older episodes that kind of get a second boost a few months after they come out as a podcast. So it's kind of cool because, by the time this airs, you guys might have some new stuff out, some new shows happening, and people can just check out the links we mentioned and find out about that there. So
yeah, for sure. Thanks, man.
Bonus, yeah. And I'm losing my voice, so we should wrap it up here.
Thank you again.
A lot. Yeah.
Like fuel to a fire, needs to be fed. So please, Lord, give us this day our daily bread. I can't go on living life wishing I was dead instead. What the hell is wrong with my head? That's the question. Suffering deep depression, insomniac, darkest black, hell never rested. Confession, God, can you hear me? They say you got a plan, but I can't see clearly. Deaf, dumb, and blind, plus I got 10,000 demons that plague my mind. I wander through the desert, never finding a sign. Every day praying for the divine intervention, hoping for ascension, wait eternity for an ounce of a blessing. Is this just a test then? If it is, what the fuck is the lesson? I wanna curse. Could it be worse? Is it a curse? Could it be? Is it a curse? Is it a curse? Worse. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Strike the devil that lives inside, for only love can conquer hate.
If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take. Strike the devil that lives inside, for only love can conquer hate. Still I roam alone, never coming home. Is it a curse? Could it be worse? Is it? Could it be worse? Curse. Could it be worse? Is it a curse? Could it be worse?